Hello and welcome to this episode 39 of Brashcast with me, Liam Pritchard, and as always, Ross Frame.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so we got plenty to talk about this week, what with like consoles being launched and all that shit. But before we get to that, I had an amazing bargain this week.
All right.
There's Stockbridge is an area in Edinburgh, a lovely little area. But despite the fact that it's absolutely lovely, it's home to an array of second-hand stores.
Right.
But there's one in particular which every so often has some fantastic games in there. Like I got a Japanese Dreamcast controller in there, fully boxed, brand new. Where the fuck do you find one of those?
Yeah.
So bizarre. And I went to get my haircut down there last week, and I just thought I'll pop in and have a look. I just have that habit of always looking just in case.
Haircut at second hand?
Yeah. Hence why it looks as it does.
Sell it on, then.
Yeah, every time I go in, they're like, "We don't care." I was like, "Come the fuck on, do it for charity. Just cut my hair." I bring my own scissors, so I end up with this haircut. But luckily this time, while I did come away with a terrible haircut, I also got Final Fantasy 8 and 9 for £3 each.
Nice.
In like perfectly boxed and everything.
Black box or platinum?
A black one as well,
Nice.
not the platinum one either, which was awesome. The only thing I went up, I was like, of course, the question you go up when you go to the till is like, do you have Final Fantasy 7 as well? No, fucking bollocks. But fair play, 8 and 9, the full original boxes for £3 each. I was like, Jesus, like they would go for what, like 15, 20 quid online?
I'm not sure what the going rate is online now.
I'm assuming
now that
something
you
like
can
that.
get the digital copy, but they're nice collector's items to have.
Yeah, especially when it's not the budget, because nobody wants the platinum edition, do they? They're always a bit gash. But the only problem now, because I've got those, I'm kind of like, I want to buy 6 and 7 on the PlayStation 1 as well.
Yeah.
But they'll invariably cost me quite a bit.
Is
so
it purely for your collection, or are you looking to play them?
well, the thing is, I've got 7,
Yeah.
and I've got 6 too. I've got 6, 7, so it would be just to have them all in a little collection to look quite nice. Because I've got 8 as well on the on my PSP, but I was just like, the box looks cool, and I haven't got 9, so I was just like, I'm not going to buy 9 and leave 8 when it costs £3, am I?
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
I think I've got them all from 4 to 9
Mm-hmm.
on the PlayStation.
I've got most of the Final Fantasies now in one form or another. But now I'm thinking it'd be quite nice to have I don't play the big online ones. I don't have 11 and 14, but I have all the other ones. But you always it'd be nice to actually have them in the boxes, kind of thing. Because I'm not a huge collector, but there are certain things I think it'd be nice to have all of them.
Yeah, I mean I'm such a big fan of 7 and 8 that I have the soundtracks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're awesome
For some
soundtracks.
reason, the number 9 soundtrack at the time was like twice as expensive as 7 and 8.
Sucks. Well, bizarre. I can't even comment it because I've actually never played Final Fantasy 9. It's just one of those weird games I've never got around to.
Wow, it's probably better than 8.
Really?
I think so.
8's a bit of a divisive one though, isn't it? Because some people think it's the best one, and other people because it's quite romantic as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it has its moments. I always remember the bit that always sticks in my head is the very start in the school and all that jazz.
Yeah,
I always just love that bit.
And,
Yeah.
Your tutor wants to, he's so both Cloud and Squall are, you could call them emo.
Oh well, Squall is a proper, for lack of a better term, mopey cunt.
Yeah,
he really is, isn't he?
That's the street I was trying to take it.
Yeah. I think you were trying to get around it a little bit more delicately. It's like, should I say the C word? No, Liam will do it if I give him enough prompts.
Imagine if you were at high school and your 25-year-old tutor who is smoking hot was after you. You would never be as miserable as he is.
No, you just get over. I mean, you jump on when you. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Or you at least tell your friends you did. I mean, it'd be at the very least, it'd be something to be proud of, not something to be mopey about.
And there's Zell, who's he's just the poster boy for ADHD. He's always got to be punching something, hopping from foot to foot.
They always have these kind of odd characters, don't they? But they Final Fantasy games, more than any other kind of JRPG, arguably, kind of have these characters which stick in the mind more than most. Even though some of them are kind of clear archetypes kind of thing. I mean, the cast of Final Fantasy 6 are so memorable. I mean, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I love the cast of Final Fantasy 13. I mean, I'll be buying Final Fantasy 13 3.
Yeah,
I've heard that's supposed to be really good though.
Lightning and guy with chocobo in his hair. I don't know anything.
You don't know Snow. Vanille's a bit annoying. The girls are a bit annoying in that game, and they're very Australian for some odd reason. But yeah, I'll be buying Final Fantasy 13 3. The only thing is, it's just sitting on my shelf. Final Fantasy 13 2. The fact that I got to the last boss,
Will you be buying?
but I had to give up.
HD edition of 10 and 10 2's on there as well. But
Yeah,
you don't have to play that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I get a Vita, I will. I mean, you can play them on the PS3 as well, can't you?
Yeah.
They're the kind of things I will get eventually. I won't rush out to get, because I've got Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2 on the PS2.
Yeah.
But, you know, it'd be nice to have them in the updated HD version. And I know one day I will get a Vita. One day, all those PlayStation Plus games will build up to a point where I'm like, I've got to get a fucking Vita. I've got two. The thing is, I got Katamari, Street Fighter X Tekken, Uncharted, and Gravity Rush. Literally 4 of the 5 games I would have gone out and picked up on day one, and I've got them all sitting there waiting to be played. I'm like, Jesus Christ. The only other one is like Ridge Racer,
of course,
which I know is not fantastic, but it's Ridge Racer. Yeah. Which do you find that a little upsetting? That, I mean, obviously you're not the biggest Ridge Racer fan, but there's no Ridge Racer for the PS4 launch. Feels like the end of an era to me.
I guess, yeah. I mean, was there one for the PS3 launch, or did it come a bit later?
No, there was one for the Xbox 360 and the PS3 launch.
Right.
Because I've got Ridge Racer 7 on the PS3. Right. It's one of those games I'll just keep forever, because I'm just not sure if we're going to get another Ridge Racer like that on home consoles.
To be honest, I think it's probably going to get harder and harder to make a racing game for the new consoles, because it's all about graphical fidelity. That's what this jump is.
Well, that was what Ridge Racer always was. Like, they were never the deepest games, and they always had that kind of core arcade gameplay, but they had a way of showing off the kind of new consoles in their own unique way, kind of thing, because they're such flashy games.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't necessarily have the highest polygons, they weren't the most detailed, but they just had that way of saying, oh, look how shiny my new console and new game is.
If you think of how saturated the market's going to be year one for racing, like AAA racing games, you know, I mean, Drive Club's been pushed back a little
but
bit,
there's room for, I say that, there's room for an arcade rate, but Ridge Racer is almost like the original vision, not like the kind of Bugbear edition.
Yeah.
You know, it's its own kind of unique thing, because even like Need for Speed Rivals, I mean, I love the Need for Speed genre in recent years, and I'll be picking up Rivals on for my Xbox One, but it's a very different game to Ridge Racer.
Yeah.
You know,
I admit that there's nothing else like it, but you've got to wonder how niche that audience is.
Yeah, or just how much money Namco have got, because obviously, well, they seem to be committed to this free to play thing, because the latest Ridge Racer, which is the Bugbear edition, that's coming to PS3 as another free to play game, along with a single player only Soul Calibur, which is quite odd.
I didn't realise they were doing that.
Yeah,
I know Tekken's going. Is it Tekken that's going?
Tekken's already gone, and Ace Combat's coming as well. They're doing it all. I'm not the biggest fan of all this, as I said plenty of times before. I prefer to just buy a game.
Yeah.
I don't like being fucked around and having certain access. Although I did get that email from Microsoft telling me that I'll be getting all the free characters for Killer Instinct.
Because you pre-ordered, or?
No, well, supposedly, unless someone has found out differently since, it's just been sent to a bunch of people.
Randomly?
Randomly, who have been signed up for Xbox Live for a certain amount of time, who have owned Xboxes. Oh. And there seems to be no correlation. They just seem to have picked quite a few people by random. And I just found out a few days ago, I just had a look at my emails. I was like, oh, holy shit, I got it. Which is cool, because I was actually quite looking forward to Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
And the idea of kind of having all the characters unlocked at the start, I mean, it's not the biggest thing in the world, and obviously you can always go back to the fact that PS Plus, you're getting kind of Resogun and stuff for free.
Yeah.
It's still a nice little, nice little bonus.
Microsoft are listening to this podcast.
Maybe they are. Maybe they're listening to him. Like, you know, he's an arcade. I've spoken so positively. I'm one of the few people who've spoken positively about the Xbox One since the announcement. So at the very least, I deserve fucking Killer Instinct and all the fucking characters. So yeah, about fucking time, Microsoft.
I could be convinced. I would need like a free Xbox One or something just to taste the game.
Yeah. The thing is, I could do probably with a second Xbox One to give to friends anyway. So in case you are listening, free Xbox, it's worth a go. But we're gonna undo all this hard work now by, of course, talking about the PlayStation 4 launch.
Just a quick thing first. This is obviously the first podcast we've done in a few weeks. We've missed our year anniversary, and we missed our Halloween spectacular as well.
I know, it's outrageous. Well, I've got something we could talk about vaguely Halloween-ish.
All right, okay.
I've kind of got that backlog of not getting, because we didn't get to record the Halloween special, and the fact that it's been over a year, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, the fact that we're only on episode 39 is just that we have been a bit lax, or it's more I've been a bit lax, in fairness. But we'll do something soon. We'll do some kind of year special bonanza thing, but we just haven't got it planned this week. But we'll get around to it. But yeah, PS4. The launch, I mean, I'm sure the sales will do well. But we've already talked, as many have, about the fact that the launch didn't look all that exciting in terms of exclusives for the Sony machine. And now the reviews have come in, and it's like, ooh, not so hot. Even Yuhei Yoshida's had to come out and say, you know, he's disappointed with the review scores. They said
for the exclusive games.
Yeah, because Knack, I think is rocking a 57 or something on Metacritic.
Was taking a piss at Knack.
Yeah, I know.
That was, I think, a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, but I think so. I mean, Sony said they were hoping for 7s, which isn't the most inspiring thing when you're talking about a first-party launch game. Yeah. But everyone was kind of making a joke out of it. But did we really expect it to be? I mean, that's a poor. I know 5 is average, but in video game review scores, as an average, that is very poor. Yeah. That really is. You can't see Knack flying off the shelves, and even Killzone, which, let's be honest, is their big launch title. That is at a 74 at the moment, and you think 74 in a first-person shooter genre, which is so competitive.
Call of Duty Ghosts is getting.
Yeah, but Call of Duty is Call of Duty. Killzone doesn't have that install base. It's
people will just buy it because it's Call of Duty.
Yeah. Killzone's never had that, and it's never quite caught on in the same way that the big first-person shooters has. And when it's got competition from Call of Duty, which could have a 50%, it's still going to sell well. And you've got Battlefield as well. It's like, is 74 as an average Metacritic score going to be big enough to turn Killzone from what essentially is a second-tier shooter into one of the big franchises? And I don't think it will, because obviously this was his chance at the start of the generation. If Killzone had come in, they'd done everything differently, and it exploded with the high review scores, then obviously a lot of people would have picked it up. I'm sure it'll still do fine, but 74 might not be enough.
I think it could be Sony's done some quite smart marketing, realised that perhaps the game wasn't going to be up to scratch, and decided to release it as a launch title.
Yeah, well,
to help sales.
Well, I think they had to, because let's be honest, they couldn't have just launched with just Knack, could they? Compared to, I mean, obviously we still haven't seen the review scores, but compared to Microsoft's first party, exclusives lineup, they were already lagging behind. I mean, if you take Killzone out of that, it would have been Knack against Dead Rising 3, Forza, Killer Instinct, and what's the other big one? Rise.
Killer Instinct is going to sell? Killer Instinct's and Rise?
I think... I don't think it's one of the big ones, but I still think it's a name and it still piques people's interest. I mean, sure, Resogun's had really good reviews, but I still think, generally speaking, Killer Instinct would be seen as a bigger deal than Resogun, because most people just look at Resogun and go, okay, sure, it's a well-reviewed shooter, but it's just a little, arcade shooter, Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I love the look of Resogun, and if I pick up a PS4, it's very much my type of thing, so I'd be picking it up obviously I'd be getting it for free anyway, but even if I had to pay, I'd be picking it up. Yeah. But I think overall, what would be the bigger draw, Killer Instinct or Resogun? I think definitely Killer Instinct. But then when you're talking about, just retail releases, when you're talking Forzas and established...
Dead Rising still just leaves a bad taste in my mouth after I really didn't... I mean, the new one does look completely different, but as a series, I was bored within 10 minutes of playing the other two.
Oh, well, I mean, it's not going
to... put a bucket on a zombie's head once, you've done it 100 times.
It does look... I mean, the sheer numbers, and I do like the look of the kind of more open world, but it's one of those games I think a lot of people will be following suit. It's wait for the reviews. Yeah. And the same with... the thing is, I haven't played it, obviously, but I like the look of Rise. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I like those kind of action games, and it kind of reminds me of Viking Battle of Asgard or something like that, but with much prettier graphics. Yeah. So I actually quite...
They did a live action trailer for it as well. That's
really
quite good.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rise is one of those games, it's not the obvious... I mean, the big one is obviously Forza. But to be honest, both consoles, there's not a single game where I'm like, that's the one. Forza's kind of it's a nice way to show off your new console. But
it's always been the way. A strong launch lineup means nothing in the long term.
No, you very rarely. Games like Mario 64 are rare as fuck.
The thing is,
rare as fuck. Is that the best term I could come up with? Rare as fuck.
Regardless of kind of where that fall, if that had come out 6 months after the launch lineup, it would still have been as massive as it was, and the console would still have sold probably as well.
But it's still a way to kind of get... if you've got that one killer... If either console had that one killer, especially when they're competing so directly, if either the Xbox One or the PS4 had that one... basically, let's say Titanfall had launched with Xbox One, that would have had a major effect.
Yes, much bigger.
But at the moment, the fact that neither console has quite got that killer lineup... The thing is, Xbox One's got the more impressive looking lineup, but then PS4 has got the better running in terms of PR going into it. So I think it's going to, and obviously it's got the better price. So I think, as most people expect, it's going to end up being a very close call. One console will probably ease in front of the other for a while. Titanfall will see a spike. Uncharted will come out, which was announced this week. You know, it's going to be much the same in the long. As you say, it's in the long run. Both these consoles are going to sell well.
I honestly think saying anything at this point is nothing more than speculation. A console life. I mean.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're talking about this being the last console you ever need, and you just upgrade it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see that being the case.
I
think maybe the next generation could be like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the hard drives are upgradable on the Xbox One, so it's just not going to happen.
With the advent of the Steam box, we'll see how that goes. Because that could be a total game changer.
This won't be the last set of consoles. You can see they're too rooted in traditional console design.
Yeah.
It'll be possibly the next generation, but any chat of this being the last console generation, it's bullshit. It's not going to happen. But you know, obviously with all this talk of Xbox One and PS4, it's easy to forget about the Wii U, and obviously over here it'll be interesting to see how games like Mario 3D World are gonna, you know, will they lead to a rise in sales. Yeah. But I tell you what, in Japan, it'll be very interesting to see how the Wii U does over there, because it's got no competition this Christmas. There's no PS4 until next year. The Xbox One, they wouldn't give a shit anyway.
Do the Japanese celebrate Christmas, or do they have?
They celebrate it to a certain degree. New Year's is bigger over there, but they do buy presents and give money at New Year's.
All right.
And you know, with Mario World 3D, which is obviously, you know, the equivalent of what set the 3DS off on its way, combined with, you know, Wii Fit U, the Wii Sports HD package.
The fact that it's had a price, two
price drops. You know, Zelda's out. It'll be very interesting to see, actually, because if the Wii U can't sell this Christmas in Japan, it might well just be fucked.
The thing is, like, it already had one poor Christmas. There really hasn't been.
Well, the launch was okay. I mean, it wasn't spectacular, but last Christmas it actually did okay in terms of sales. It was nothing phenomenal.
When was it? November. It was this time last year, or maybe a little bit earlier than this. It was the end of October, start of November.
It was the start of the year when there was no sign of new games, and the sales just fell off a cliff. Sales have improved over in Japan since the release of Wii Party U and all that jazz. And, you know, with...
Apart from Wind Waker HD, there's not a single game that I would really be excited about.
Really?
On the Wii U.
But you're not a Mario fan, are you?
Not particularly.
I
don't dislike Mario.
I would, if I could only buy one game between now and the end of the year, there is literally no question. It's Mario 3D Land. The more I see of that game, the more gameplay I see, the more I just think it looks absolutely phenomenal. So, yeah, and again, it's, you know, with all these Browns and all these games where people are shooting each other, it's so nice to see a game like Mario. Yeah. Although I tell you what, speaking of nice-looking games, the more I see of Zoo Tycoon, the more it could be the secret success of the Xbox One launch, because it looks so nice.
It's a Tycoon game on a console, though. The thing that's always going to get in the way of that is the user interface.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how it goes, but I mean, the animals look amazing, and it just, you know, it's a bit
of the minimum you'd expect, though.
Yeah, but it's at least a bit of colour in an otherwise very grey and brown looking launch. But I mean, I won't be for me, obviously.
Fair, the 360 had Viva Pinata, and that was awesome.
That was awesome. Beth and I played that a hell of a lot. It was surprisingly addictive, and you know, this could be it's Viva Pinata. It'll be interesting to see. But so the Xbox One launch is on Friday. No, what are we talking about?
22nd. So
22nd. Yeah. So I'll actually be on my console on Friday, supposedly.
Are you still?
I'm still planning. Yeah, I'm
still shipping it down south?
Listen, this week, to this all nice little segue into what we've been playing this week. I'm trying to get through all of the games this gen, which I've missed, which I want to play.
Knowing what your gaming habits are like, that's going to be an undertaking.
That is going to be an undertaking. Don't get me wrong, I won't get through all of them, but I'm trying to get through, you know, the very top of the list. So, excuse me, I think I just spat at Ross.
That's okay, I do it all the time.
Oh, that's fine. Grand Theft Auto 5 being the obvious one. That's going to be a time sink. I finally bought that. I'm playing through it now.
How far do you feel that you are through it?
I've just got through to, what's his name, the crazy guy.
You've just got Trevor.
Who is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, properly crazy. Like, I was surprised. Like, spoiler alert, because, you know, if you haven't played Grand Theft Auto 5, I thought I'm pretty sure I'm, like, the last person on earth to play this.
People might be waiting on it for Christmas. So.
Okay, well, like, literally, the next 10 seconds, just skip. The very first thing he does is basically kill a character from Grand Theft Auto 4. From The Lost and the Damned.
Oh, I didn't play Lost in the Damned.
Oh, you know, like, biker dude.
Yeah, okay.
Just fucking kills the shit out. Like, he is so fucking crazy. I'd heard about how nuts he was, but, like, I've only been playing the Trevor section for, like, I know, like an hour, and I'm like, fuck, this guy is bonkers. Yeah. Very unlikable, but I've heard all these stories.
All unlikable.
I quite like Michael and Franklin. I like the kind of, teacher and protege thing going on. I mean, obviously, I haven't finished the game. I'm only a bit into it.
Franklin is really the only one with any kind of moral compass.
I like Michael. I find him interesting.
Michael is the one that I enjoyed playing as most because he's funny.
Yeah.
But they're all morally reprehensible.
No, I don't. I think he's flawed, but I do. There is a side to Michael which I find I quite like. Like, he's a dick, but he's not like Trevor, who is just he's entertaining what I've played with so far just because he's so bonkers. But I like Michael, and more importantly, I like the relationship so far between Michael and Franklin. I think it's a unique relationship as well, to have that kind of teacher and protege between two, very different background kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm quite liking that. At the moment, as with any Grand Theft Auto game, to keep myself entertained, I've got to keep doing the story missions.
Oh yeah.
Because if I go wandering off, I get bored and just don't enjoy it. So I'm just, at the moment at least, I'm just trying to make my way through the story, and I haven't touched online. But I'm playing that. I bought Gears of War Judgment because I want to blitz through that. I literally just started the very beginning of it yesterday. It looks gorgeous in fairness.
How is it? Is it just the same?
It's just Gears of War.
With an arcade points
I haven't played enough of it to kind of give a verdict, but it looks very pretty. It's still Gears. I like the kind of the point system, and I'll say
love arcade games,
yeah, and it's only, again, it's perfect for me at the moment because it's about, I think from what I've heard, 5-6 hours long, which is perfect. And the same with I bought Crysis 3 as well.
All right, okay.
Because I finished the first two Crysis. I might I'm not. I like both the first and second Crysis games. I'm not like the biggest fan, but I'm like, I might as well finish the trilogy. And again, I picked it for like a tenner, and I heard the campaign's like 6 hours, so I'll happily play through that. But I've got those, and I've got the thing is, Ni no Kuni. I can't stop playing that. I really want to play Ni no Kuni, but that's 60 hours.
A lot of people are talking about that as kind of game of the last year as well. Like,
yeah, I think it'll be in the conversation. Yeah, I'll be up there with you, kind of. I think, funny enough, despite all those super high reviews, because I don't think Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to win Game of the Year. I think, based on what I've played, like Last of Us, it's hard to see past that. That, or I really like BioShock Infinite as well, though.
The thing is, you look at it this way, it's definitely the best-selling game of the last 5 years.
What's that? Grand Theft Auto? Grand Theft Auto, I think, is the best-selling game of all time now. Well, it will be. Yeah. No, it might not be overall kind of thing compared to some of the Nintendo games, but. Yeah. I think it's more likely to be Last of Us, but I'd say I did play a very interesting game. I reviewed it as well, brashgames.co.uk, check it out. I'm quite happy to whore out the website and myself. A game called Proteus for the PS3 and PS Vita, and for the Vita, yeah.
I saw a thing popped up in my feed with a review of it. It's like an arcade. Is that the one with the snake kind of thing?
No. That's. Are you thinking of Nobby Boy?
No. It's a recent. I think I'm maybe thinking of Ho Hokum or something.
Oh, maybe. This one is so bizarre. It's like a 3D. Like visually, it looks like a 3D 3D Atari game.
Okay.
Very simple, and I'm not even sure if you can call it a game. You just kind of wake up on an island, and you just walk around, and the kind of island reacts to you with sound.
Okay.
As you kind of wander around. There is a kind of end game in a certain sense of the word, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But for the most part, you are just experiencing the island, or the islands, as it were.
An art game, really.
Oh, yeah, it really is. And in its own way, it feels... I think it says something about a PlayStation. Now, when I play it now, it feels like a PlayStation game.
Okay.
Like, PlayStation, to me, now feels like the home of these kind of more artistic, kind of experimental
I know
games.
What you mean. Jonathan Blow's The Witness, as well, is really being pimped for the PS4.
Yeah.
And it looks gorgeous as well. It also seems to have a bit of a puzzle element.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that was the guy who made... Braid, wasn't it?
Yes.
I fucking love. I love that game.
The thing is, the guy himself is a bit of a pretentious douche.
Yeah. Well, some of these games...
He's very condescending to other people in the games industry. Like, he makes Phil Fish look, like a level-headed nice guy.
Yeah. The thing is, with a lot of these kind of artistic types...
Fez as well.
Oh yeah, I really like Fez. A lot of these pretentious types are assholes, but as long as the product they deliver in the end is worthy of note, then it's fine. Yeah. There's nothing worse than someone which is pretentious and shit. There is literally nothing.
David Cage.
Yeah, there is literally nothing. Well, I haven't played.
Beyond.
I haven't played. Have you played it?
I haven't, but I've heard it's worse than Heavy Rain was.
I thought you were going to use the term whack then for some reason. Oh man, it is whack. That shit is whack, yo. Beyond is whack, motherfucker. I don't want why that had to become black all of a sudden. Anyway, but yeah, Proteus.
So that GTA you're playing.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Although I love Lamar. I fucking love Lamar. He's awesome. Yeah, I really think he's funny. Yeah, Proteus. Not sure if it's a game, but as an experience, it's one of those games. Turn the lights off, get on the best earphones you can, and just kind of experience. You know, even like I know Journey. Some people argue isn't a game. Journey's more of a game than this is.
Yeah.
You just kind of appear and you wander. It's very unique, but again, it just feels like a PlayStation product now, even though it's not. But it feels like something which belongs on a PlayStation console. But
I think that is definitely one of the things that excites me more about PlayStation than Microsoft is that they are dedicated to bringing kind of new experiences to the console market.
They feel like the most experimental kind of thing, or the most willing to kind of put their money behind something experimental.
I mean, nowadays, because Steam being the juggernaut that it is, and the fact that a lot of smaller indie studios have the means to market a game like that, I think it's only really new to the console market, whereas PC gamers will be like, well, we've had this game for 6 months.
Yeah.
And now you're going mental for it.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it does actually come back to originally, arguably, Microsoft and the Xbox 360, because these kind of more arty games, the one that kind of opened the door for these games to appear on home consoles was Braid. Arguably on the Xbox One, because that kind of game blew up, and then that was the first game where people started talking about, oh well, an arcade game could be considered for Game of the Year. Before that, it was never really in the conversation.
No.
So it was kind of like Microsoft started this, but it's Sony who have really embraced it as part of their commitment to gamers kind of thing. And you know, traditional gamers, not, you know, it's unfair to say people who play just Call of Duty aren't gamers, but
who was it that said that? Someone recently has gone on record as saying that. Like someone from Activision or something. Like, well, our gamers aren't really gamers. They just play Call of Duty.
Well, they're not. They play a game, but it's. I heard an argument before, and I thought it was completely apt. Is that if you watched the same movie every day forever,
could you be called a movie?
You wouldn't be called a movie fan. You would just be a fan of that movie. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with being a Call of Duty fan or someone who just plays Call of Duty and Madden. But that doesn't make you a gamer. You play a game. But when I think of the term gamer, I think someone who has an interest in the industry.
I think that's because nowadays so much weight is ascribed to the term gamer.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
we almost it almost needs a different term, because they are a gamer in so much that they're playing a video game all the time. But you know, you have like movie buff, don't you, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like we need the equivalent of like a gaming buff.
Yeah.
Which people who play Call of Duty, like there are people who play video games so much more than me. Like I don't have the time to play Call of Duty 3 hours every single night, or you know, any game 3 hours a night. But I play more games and I know more about, you know, that's not a big head thing, it's a fact. I know more about the industry than they do.
I know exactly what
and like sometimes I say it, I almost enjoy reading about video games more than I do actually playing them sometimes.
It depends on the game.
Yeah, it does.
I can see.
But that's just as like I enjoy that just as much as playing it, like kind of reading about the new stories and seeing the new videos and stuff and going, oh, you know, this is coming out soon, and kind of being up to date.
Yeah.
Whereas someone like Call of Duty, it's just about Call of Duty. Like you say, it's almost like there are people who like sports, and then there are people who just like football.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, Call of Duty is an e-sport unto itself kind of thing, you know? So that's fair enough, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, again,
it's splitting hairs, and I think
each to their own. That's the important thing.
The problem with kind of saying that people who play just like casual game, like I would say casual gamer is fine, because that is what you do. Like, fair enough, you're spending a lot of time doing.
See, that's a weird thing again, because you say casual gamer, but that suggests you kind of pop on every so often, but they're playing more than most.
Then how many like aunties or like, you know, elderly relatives do you have that like will play little games on their phone?
Yeah, that's a casual gamer to me.
But do not ascribe to being gamers. And I think that's the major difference in my opinion, is that one is a group that think they are gamers but only play the one, and one is a game.
I wouldn't call someone who plays Grand Theft Auto 20 hours a week a casual gamer. They're just a Call of Duty gamer. Yeah. It's like I've got friends who own. He's got an Xbox 360. He's on like Prestige fucking 10 on Call of Duty. His gamer score is like 60.
Yeah.
He plays the Xbox more than me, but all he does, like, he doesn't bother the campaign, he doesn't bother anything else, he just plays Call of Duty online, and that is it. And that's totally fair enough, but, you know, it's not a gamer, but then it's equally not a casual gamer. It's just a Call of Duty player. Yeah. Like, why doesn't that work? But it doesn't matter. But I actually wrote an article about, because you have the other side of that, of course, where everyone else kind of attacks Call of Duty then. Call of Duty is a really well-made series.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. You get all these people saying Call of Duty is shit. It's obviously not shit.
It's the biggest, easiest target.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
It's just nonsense to call... Right, it's fair enough. If you don't like Call of Duty, no problem. If you come out and say Call of Duty is shit, that's bullshit. That is absolute nonsense.
If Call of Duty didn't exist, people would be saying exactly the same thing about Battlefield.
Oh, they'd just be picking on something else.
Because Battlefield is essentially just a map pack.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When you've got a game where millions and millions of people play it for God knows how many hours, like literally, that's all they play the whole year. People won't play a bad game that much. It's just there's something about it.
I love Battlefield, but there's no way I could play only it.
No. I couldn't play any game, just that game.
My youngest brother, he just plays Call of Duty and FIFA, really.
Yeah.
I'm always quite happy to see him, like, he was playing Borderlands because his friend, like, it's more, like, if anything, it's a social gamer, is what you could call these people.
Yeah,
because these people.
These fucks.
Referring to my own brother.
Yeah.
But, no,
like, I'm calling your brother a fuck, yeah. Sorry.
You know, it's more a case of whatever your friends are playing.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, he grew up, you know, in obviously the same household as me and Murray, who's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
Murray has a bigger, better game collection than I do.
Yeah.
Grant, he's still just... I think it is very much a case of whatever... Like, it seems like almost like a waste of time if you're not making yourself better at the game that you want to be able to show off in.
Well, that is the sign that it's treated as a sport. Like, basically, when I was younger, when we were all in high school, like every single night we'd go to the park and play football because that's what all my friends were doing.
Yeah.
Everyone would go to the park and we just play football for hours. Now people don't do that. They go home and then everybody plays Call of Duty because all their friends are playing it. It's like you say, it's a social thing. It's fair enough, but we can talk Call of Duty. I mean, we can talk about all fucking day, can we?
Because you're doing it in the privacy of your own home as well. This is something that can last as long as you're comfortable with, because obviously you can't be going down the park at 25 and playing football, you know, with the kids. No,
it gets a bit creepy then.
When you've got anonymity and the fact that some of these kids are ridiculously good at Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah,
you know, you can play that as long as you want with whoever you want.
I do enjoy stepping in on Call of Duty Online every so often, but it can be a brutal experience. I mean, I'm usually I'm decent enough at Call of Duty to kind of put up decent numbers. Like, I'm not completely destroyed.
Yeah.
But there are every so often, like any online game, you run into a team every so often and just wipe the floor with you.
Because there's so many exploits that now have just become the basic fabric of the game. Things like no scoping, quick scoping, just all the little tricks that you, as someone who steps into the game every couple of weeks for a couple of hours, there's never gonna be an even footing.
Although
someone that knows every nook and cranny.
Oh no, obviously not. But they've done a pretty good job with Ghosts of kind of leveling it, because now
Have you played it?
No.
Just read about it.
I'm gonna get on the Xbox One. The skills and the weapons and stuff are unlockable via money. So as soon as you earn money, you can unlock what you want. You can choose.
Yeah.
And then what is unlockable for higher level players are like special skins and stuff.
All right. Cool.
So you've got to play for ages to look pimp.
Yeah.
But to have the gun and the weapons you want, you can get those early doors, which is such a good idea, because it is one of those things that, like, I started playing Black Ops with some of my friends. I was like, not for very long, but I thought I'd get involved for a little bit. And one of the things that were annoying was, like, my gun was a bit shit.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I've got to wait to kind of level this up and stuff. And it's just, the fact that now you can just go in, pick the gun you want, buy the kind of add-ons you need. I mean, I don't give a shit if I don't look pimp, but it's a nice incentive for those who do put in.
Customization is something that I've learned in the last kind of 8 months working for Reloaded.
Yeah.
Because APB, what sets it apart a lot for a lot of people is the ability to take any car or any character, make it look almost exactly how you want it.
Yeah.
There are people that actually make real life money. We don't like that they do, but there's people that make real life money basically making skins. Essentially.
Yeah, kind of like Forza or something like that. Yeah.
And it's amazing to see how, like, not only how much money people will spend. I mean, I was shocked. How much money some people are willing to spend on it, but also the amount of time and commitment that some of these people have.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's impressive, but I can't relate.
Do you not have jobs? I don't know how some people do these things. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But again, each their own, I suppose. But I mean, I've got a few other games I've been playing this week. I'll run through them very quickly. Sonic and the All-Star Racing Transformed. I kind of really committed to that again. That game is amazing, and
that's a nice, fun pick up and play. Even Bethan could probably play that with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just a karting game, but some of the challenges are actually pretty tricky. And if you actually want to finish the career, you've got to finish like a lot of races on the higher difficulties and a lot of the challenges, and they get very difficult very quickly.
Yeah.
But it's such a Sega game. It's bizarre because it actually makes
racing, or do you fire weapons as well?
Fire weapons, like karting and stuff, but it does a good job in the career of kind of giving you alternative kind of objectives.
Yeah.
So you're not always racing.
That you said that was what you often like Bethan doing, was like getting.
Oh no, that was in Little Big Planet karting.
Right,
she would do I'd race first, and then she'd go back and kind of pick up the collectibles.
Yeah.
But Sonic Racing Transformed is easily, in my opinion, the closest anyone's come to Mario Kart. But for a Sega fan, it's the most Sega product easily since the Dreamcast era.
Yeah.
It's so kind of steeped in kind of Sega. And the fact that it's got kind of Panzer Dragoon levels and stuff like that, it's absolutely phenomenal.
It's fun, is what it is.
Oh yeah, it is so fun, and it feels quintessentially Sega. But again, it's not made by Sega; it's made by Sumo Digital.
Yeah.
And Sumo Digital have arguably made two of my favorite Sega games in recent years. They made that, and they made Outrun 2, which is up there amongst my favorite games of all time. So fair play to them. But I played that. Got back into Metal Gear Rising, which obviously you've been playing. We'll talk about in a second.
Revengeance.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's free on PSN.
Well, because because I've got it on the 360,
right.
But the DLC has been made free. So Jetstream Sam, I'll get that right eventually, and the Cyber Dog, whatever his name is, their DLC, playable DLC is free on the 360 and the PS3. So I picked those up. Pinball FX for some odd reason, just because I fancy giving that a go, and Remember Me because it was free on PlayStation Plus.
I still haven't gotten around to Remember Me. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah. So really good. It's actually slid straight onto my list of most underrated games of the generation.
All I've done is hear the soundtrack, and the soundtrack is awesome.
Soundtrack's amazing.
Like orchestral, but with a really cool kind of techno, almost like Tron.
Yeah. Oh, the soundtrack's amazing. The visuals are amazing. The world created is phenomenal. It's a bit basic. That's obviously the criticism most people have had.
Yeah.
The combat I think it's very good. It's not the most in-depth, but you can create your own custom combat. And it has this way of kind of stringing things together, and the way it combines music with the music sometimes is very cool. Yeah. But I think the story's good. The main character, Nilin, she's fantastic. Yeah. I'm surprised it didn't get more attention, to be honest. It was one of those games which always seemed doomed to not sell well, but I think a lot of people will be very pleasantly surprised picking it up on... Yeah, Capcom, but it's not made... It's published by Capcom, but it's developed by Do Not, I think. But yeah, it's one of those games, if you've got PS Plus, do pick it up, and even if you don't, you should be able to get it for relatively cheap now, and it's a really, really good game.
I'm really hoping that next month it's Resident Evil 6, that comes out for PSN, because they've had Dragon's Dogma, which I still haven't played.
Awesome.
Because I know that's a major time.
Yeah.
Play it. That's a major time commitment.
I actually gave up on the
DLC.
Yeah, I actually gave up on the DLC because I was just like, I can't keep playing this anymore. I kind of stepped away for it too long, and I came back into it. I was quite enjoying it, but I was like, I've got other games I want to play, and with the new consoles coming up soon, it was one of those ones I had to just kind of put to the side.
I'm actually quite happy about the fact that I haven't
committed to a new console.
Plans to make a new console.
It's wise
because I don't need it.
No.
It really sucks because I actually feel guilty now. I've gone back to playing Skyrim. To play the DLC that I haven't completed.
Okay, yeah.
But I actually feel guilty that I'm playing Skyrim because there's so many other games that I know I should play.
There's tons of that. I mean, I haven't even played Wind Waker HD yet. I haven't played Pikmin yet. I haven't played The Wonderful 101 yet. These are games I all need to get round to, and there's going to be more. Obviously, with Mario coming out, that is something I will buy straight away and need to blitz. But there's so many games coming out without even taking into consideration the next generation. And most of the best looking games on the next gen are ones which are going to be available on PS3 and Xbox anyway. The ones I'm most looking forward to, Need for Speeds, Assassin's Creed, I'm kind of slowly warming to.
I'm holding off Assassin's Creed. Basically, I've got coursework I should be doing. I'm trying to do a little bit of stuff for work, kind of like outside of hours, just to kind of get to know a few of the community members a bit better and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So you haven't got time for Assassin's Creed?
No.
No.
And it's going to be my little reward for myself for Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Because I've got the voucher.
Mm-hmm.
They have the game. It's literally downstairs from my work.
Yeah.
I literally pass it every day twice.
Well, no, I'm the same. I'm going to wait for the Xbox One version. I'm not getting that till Christmas anyway, so that'll wait. But yeah, Call of Duty, I want to get. Battlefield, I want to get. So there's plenty there, but again,
Battlefield I might skip altogether because
I want to give it a go.
The only way I'm going to enjoy that is if I start playing it with a group of people.
That's the only problem, and the single player campaign is supposed to be pretty shit again.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Anyway, never mind. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I've been playing. Obviously you've been playing Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Yes. Prologue, I don't know what the fuck they were doing, but the prologue is awful.
Really?
It's not at all indicative of the game.
No, it kind of eases you into it almost, doesn't it, I suppose?
What it does is it makes the game fucking boring. Like, the combat is awful in the prologue, and then later on you come back and they add the whole... Basically, to regenerate your power, you have to cut them in a specific way.
That's when it gets...
That's when it adds an element of skill instead of just hammering the buttons.
That's the game at its best. It has that... Like, obviously you can kind of plow through it, but it's one of those games more than most where I felt like I wanted to be good at it, and there was few things more... kind of like when you get into that rhythm of killing, ripping their spines out, whatever, and then moving on to the next. And when you get into that kind of flow of getting 3 or 4 guys on the bench, just like that is amazing. But that's what Platinum do amazing.
A's and S's.
Yeah.
I'm getting good ranks.
Yeah.
Or at least I was early on, and I'm like, oh, why this? Like, I don't feel like I did that. I didn't like. The problem I have is that there's so many, because it's a Kojima or a Metal Gear game, so much exposition and so many cutscenes. And
they've cut it down by Metal Gear standards.
Yeah.
But they had to have them, didn't they? So
even down to things like the fact that Raiden will now walk with his finger on his ear, projecting the image. So you're just trying to get to the next bit. You're not really paying attention to what's being said.
I do.
Not like
I love
the codec conversations where you're watching exposition. You're watching essentially a very short cutscene with important information. Like, now you're just like, oh, there's this guy up ahead. Watch out for this.
That's. I mean, I think it suits the game. I think they got the balance right. I mean, you are speaking to someone like I'm a massive fan of this game, but I'm a massive Platinum fan. And again, with this game, they've got that knack of kind of making a game where it's not necessarily easy to finish, but it's hard to be amazing at it, kind of thing. And it always encourages you to play the game in a different way. But I love the bands. The one thing which I hated though, and fuck me, you are going to despise it, the last boss is an absolute shit. It is, oh my, like it's so outrageous, the final boss battle.
That they cheat, basically.
Well, no, what it is, I won't go into the details. The setup is so ridiculous and outrageous that you can't believe it's happening, and that's kind of fun. But the actual combat is a pain in the ass, and there's a bit right at the end where if you don't get
a pink mist and can disassemble himself.
Oh yeah.
That was a bitch.
Yeah. Have you fought? Oh no, Jetstream Sam is right at the end.
He's the first one, and you get your ass handed.
Yeah. But you fight him. It's no surprise to hear that you fight him later in the game. But he's an awesome character. I put off. It's how many times I've nearly bought the DLC. But I started loaning the game to my friend. He's had it for ages, and as soon as I heard the DLC was free, I was like, I'm taking this game back. I need to play these. But yeah, he's a really cool character. But I know if I start playing this game, I'll start playing the Raiden missions and stuff as well. But
I like the fact that when you find your first cardboard, or you find your first guy inside a cardboard box and you hit him, it's like, I wonder where you got that idea.
Yeah. It's got cool mods and stuff. But I hope they make a sequel. But I love. The thing is, I love Metal Gear. I love Metal Gear. And I love Platinum Games, so what the fuck? It's a bit of a no-brainer for me. But anything else before we move on?
Just the Skyrim DLC, a little bit of FIFA 13, because my brother gave it to me.
Yeah.
Other than that, not really had that much time. So
fair play. Well, we've already mentioned the news of the PlayStation 4.
Just on the talk of Metal Gear, that's actually been announced for spring next year.
Metal Gear.
Part 1.
Or Ground Zeroes.
Yeah,
That's a terrible name, isn't it? They've also mentioned, what is it, an exclusive content for the PS4 and a playable old Snake, like original Snake or something like that. I haven't actually seen the video.
Mode.
Yeah.
But you should see the collector's edition, the Japanese collector's. It is gorgeous.
Really?
It comes with a Punished Snake statue.
Oh, that's awesome. I fucking love Metal Gear.
$85, so that's like 55 quid or so.
It's one of those games where I might be because I've got the special edition of the HD collection.
That's how we met.
Yeah, it was. Oh, so romantic. I've still got the T-shirt in the box for some reason. It's like I've become quite what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, fuck.
Enamored? I don't know.
Not enamored.
I feel the same.
Precious, we'll say about it. But I meant the T-shirt, not you, son of a bitch. What else there? Okay, so the 720 versus 1080 thing, I don't even want to talk about that. I think it's absolute bullshit.
Too many people have made too big a deal.
Yeah, it can't be fucked. Can't see the difference anyway for the most part.
It's essentially people have seen it as ammunition to sling at each other.
Yeah. They can all get to fuck. Both consoles are very good. At least Microsoft and Sony are doing a good job. They're being buddies. Microsoft sending that message saying,
part of me wonders how much of that, like...
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think they've just said, congratulations on your launch.
Yeah.
They're just saying, listen, we want to sell more consoles and stuff, but they're all in the same business. You don't have to be cunts to each other all the time. Yeah. And that's what the majority of gamers are being. It's such a bizarre, I'm not going to get into this conversation now, but I don't see why people are so kind of defensive about a multi-million-pound corporation.
It's the clan mentality. It's because they don't see it as that. They see it as their console.
Yeah, it's so fucking strange.
It comes from the days when games were there was no such thing as a used market. It was £70 for a game, and your parents could only afford to buy you one.
Yeah.
So you had to convince yourself that you didn't want.
Oh yeah, that's all these things are. It's basically people convincing themselves that they've made the right choice, but it still doesn't explain all the vitriol you get online. But again, that's a conversation for another day. There's the largest price rise in video game history. Angry Birds Star Wars has come out, and it's £30 on consoles, which is bizarre. It's not even like a trilogy. It's not even Star Wars 1 and 2. It's Angry Birds Star Wars, just one.
Free on your iPhone or
it's £69.
Oh, is it right?
Well, yeah, £69 to £30. So if you and the bizarre thing is, these games sell really well.
Yeah,
it's insane. So I don't know what's going on. The world's insane. I'm sure there are a few other things we can talk about, but for the last 15-20 minutes or so, we will get around to our most underrated games of the generation. We're going to do it because we've been putting off for fucking ages. It's nearly...
One other little bit
No, go for it.
Fans of Fallout 4. I know you're not a massive... Or fans of Fallout.
I'd be interested to see it, though. As long as they can sort out people's faces and stop making them mongers.
There is now a website called I think it's Survivor 2299, and it links to basically it's like a countdown that's meant to be, I think it's so it's the 11th of December that the countdown finishes on, so it'll be 11, 12, 13. Bethesda love doing shit like that.
Yeah.
But it's got the Vault-Tec logo underneath it.
It has to be Fallout. I mean, even without the Vault-Tec, surely their next game has to be Fallout.
If it's Bethesda doing it and not them outsourcing it to Obsidian again, I'm so excited.
Oh, Bethesda, the core Fallout 4 will surely be Bethesda.
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to hand off a kind of numbered release in the Fallout series now. And, shit.
I mean, that's going to be, as soon as they announce it, that's going to be at least a year of me going,
I want that game.
It's the game I want.
The
game I want.
The thing is, with Fallout 4, I mean, as we've already talked about.
Collector's edition as well.
Oh, yeah, they do amazing collector's edition. I mean, it's the kind of game I'll certainly want to play, like all these, but I'm still yet to be kind of completely enamoured by a Bethesda game, but I'm sure there are a lot of people really fucking looking forward to that game. Yeah. One sitting right next to me, so Well, there are a few bigger fans of Bethesda games than you. I mean, as much as I'm a fan of, say, like Platinum or Nintendo, you seem to be that. I mean, Bethesda kind of top of your development. If you could only play one game by one developer.
You know what? This is the way I put it, because it's obviously the career I want to move into. The two studios that I would drop everything to work for. BioWare Edmonton, because they're the ones that do
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect and stuff. Because the one in Texas does Knights of the Old Republic. As much as I love Star Wars,
it's not your cup of tea. Or
Bethesda.
See, mine, I mean, they're both Japanese. It would probably, if not talking about working, but in terms of only playing like from one developer, it'd have to be Nintendo, I think, or Platinum. Platinum, maybe their output's not strong enough, consistent enough.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, it'd be Nintendo. They make the best games. Yeah. They make the best games. So most underrated games of the generation. We're going to do this now and forever hold our peace. Now, I've got a list of games. We won't go into too much detail on each one, but there have been so many kind of great games, especially with a generation which has been running for 8 years now, which have basically just either gone under the radar or have deserved a bit better. I mean, we've already talked about Remember Me, which is a recent one. Yeah. Obviously, you haven't played that yet, but I'll be very interested to get your opinion on it once you finally give it a go.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those games, it doesn't do anything particularly new in terms of gameplay. The platform's very Uncharted.
Right.
The combat, it's nice, but it's not going to change anyone's lives. But it's the whole, it looks phenomenal. The story's solid. As I said, the lead character, Nilin, in a year in which, female characters have really, kind of come to the fore with Elizabeth in BioShock, Ellie and stuff. And Lara Croft in Tomb Raider, who I thought was fantastic in the kind of new iteration of the character. I think Nilin's up there with those, but obviously won't get any of the recognition because the game's fallen under the radar. But you look at especially when you put it on, you're like, this game looks fucking amazing. The kind of vision of Neo Paris in the future is absolutely gorgeous. Some of the scenes, they obviously know how gorgeous it is. You come up a ladder and then they suddenly force the camera to pan and you see the kind of old Paris and then the kind of the skyscrapers around it behind, and it's just I can see why you've done that. It looks amazing. But obviously we can have a talk about that more next week once you've hopefully given it a go at some points. Some of these a lot of people won't agree with, but Viking Battle of Asgard, I actually mentioned it earlier, kind of, it's one of those weird games where it took me a while to get into it, but once you get into the flow of battle, because you kind of build up in each area, you kind of build up your clan, as it were, and then you have huge, large-scale battles at the end of it before you kind of take the surrounding area, and it has that weird flow of kind of build up, giant battle. Some people will find it repetitive, but it's a very interesting way to kind of
God of War kind of.
Yeah, but it's I don't know, you feel more involved because it's open world.
Yeah.
And you kind of move across the map by essentially kind of conquering it. And, you have the payoff at the end of each area by having these huge, large cave battles.
It's a Sega game, isn't it?
It's not developed by Sega, it's published by Sega.
Right.
But it's technically very, very solid. It looks good, and the large-scale battles look amazing. Again, these are all games, the majority of these games you can pick up for so cheap, a $5 or less.
I guess in the same similar vein, Warhammer 40k Space Marine, very similar, really solid combat.
Yep.
Brilliant voice acting. Special effects are quite good.
Looks like Gears of War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that invites the
which is first kind of thing. Well, yeah, they've stolen from them, but the core gameplay is very Gears. But the reason it looks like Gears is because Gears looks like Warhammer. Yeah. We'll give them that.
But just the fact that the shoot mechanic, the shoot mechanic works, but you're really rewarded for getting in there with close combat, and it's just satisfying.
They even arguably stole the whole chainsaw gun idea, because the only difference is with Warhammer they're separate. It's one of those games, the production values are really high, it looks really good, the combat's solid.
I've got the special edition sitting on my shelf.
And it is a gorgeous looking special edition. There's a lot going on there. I mean, you don't have to be a fan of Warhammer to enjoy that game. No. Because it's got an interesting lore anyway built into the universe.
That's why I like Warhammer so much.
It's one of those bizarre games where I've played it, but I've never kind of committed to the game, and I keep putting it off. But again, you can pick that up for a $5 nowadays.
I got that collector's edition for a tenner.
Yeah.
And there's a lot in that.
There is for a tenner. That's absolutely amazing. You might not agree with this, but I've got Prince of Persia, the remake kind of thing, the reboot.
I wouldn't say that was.
I love that game.
That was a while ago, but I wouldn't say that was underrated.
This was such a weird game, because when it came out, a lot of people seemed to love it, and then after release, there seemed to be this horrible backlash. When it came out, it was relatively well reviewed, but when people talk about it, you read a lot of articles, they seem to have turned on it. A lot of people seem to have looked back and say, "Oh no, it's terrible because they had that voice acting and they didn't enjoy the orb collecting." That game was fucking good. That is literally one of my favorite games of the generation.
It was a very good looking game. I did
and it's such a shame that. I hate the idea that Prince of Persia is going to just end up, if they do release it, just another version of Assassin's Creed.
I mean, when they brought out the movie, there was a game brought out
which was
coincide with it, which was
a step backwards.
It was really. It was neither here nor there. Basically, it wasn't
It just felt like
new Prince of Persia, and it wasn't as good as the old one either.
No, it just felt like a high-res version of the PS2 version releases, but not quite as well made.
Which they did do. They did do an HD.
Oh yeah, but this felt like the next-gen version, but without doing anything particularly new. It was such a safe release, and it was such a shame. Right, it was still a good game. The one I can't remember, Sands of Time, whatever it was. I'm not sure if that was the name of the film or the game. It was a solid enough game, and I finished it. But compared to the rebooted version, which was still looks absolutely, because I put it on again recently, it still looks absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. Yes, the Prince. It's Nolan North who actually does the voice of the Prince in that.
What a shocker!
I know, and he sounds so American, but he's very charismatic in that game. The story's great. The ending is fucking brave as fuck. Really interesting. Get Prince of Persia. It doesn't seem to be, as I said, there seems to be this weird backlash against it, but that literally goes down as one of my favourite games of the generation. Yeah. This one paid the price of not being what everybody wanted. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Like, it wasn't the platform everyone wanted. It did have platform aspects, but that was still a really, really well-made game.
I never played it, but I remember reading a lot of, it reviewed well.
Yeah, because it was an amazingly made game.
It was just, I think, that people, because it was rare, because it was, people, the calibre of the previous titles was so big, I just don't think people really...
Well, people just wanted another Banjo game. Yeah. They just wanted another 3D platformer, didn't they? And Rare, arguably, it was their mistake. They went out and thought, okay, we're going to try and do something new.
I mean, you can build anything.
Yeah, the mechanics behind that game, it's gorgeous to look at. And when kind of looked at in its own right, it's a fantastic game. Don't get me wrong, me personally, I was hoping for a more traditional Banjo experience, but... seen in its own light, it's a fantastic game and really didn't get the love it really deserved, to be honest.
I guess you can say the same about some of the Ratchet and Clank games. They just kind of pass. They just come out. Mm-hmm. But I love Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, but they haven't had quite the same quality. I mean, you can see the reviews. They've kind of gone into this kind of ebb and flow of just kind of releasing 7 out of 10 games, which are not bad games, but they try and do new things, but nothing ever feels fully committed. Whereas Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, I mean, they really committed to this new vision for the series, and while it was fully realised and successful in its own way, it's just not what the fans wanted. People just wanted a 3D platform and they didn't get it. But what can you do? I'm going to have to skip through some of these pretty quick, but I've got half of the Wheelman. Because anything on foot in the Wheelman, or Wheelman is called, it was never called the Wheelman, was absolutely shit. For those who don't know, it was Vin Diesel game, open world, one of the last Midway games, and anything on foot was garbage. Like, the world didn't look good enough for kind of close inspection, as it were. The shooting mechanics were poor. The story was a bit gash. Voice acting, Vin Diesel was fine, but for the most part was a bit iffy.
You say it was the last Midway game?
One of the last Midway games.
I thought Midway had closed long, but did they sell it on?
No, it was still Midway. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was Midway Games.
I don't think the game's that old. Midway closed ages ago.
Well, it was like 2008 Wheelman, I think. I might be making that up. I think it was Midway. I hope so, because I'm sure I wrote that in the article. Brash Games, most underrated games, check it out. But yeah, anything in the car was amazing, because they didn't bother with physics or anything like that. Like, you could shunt in this like really unnatural way, but it felt really arcadey. And Vin Diesel's character could jump from car to car. He'd get on the bonnet and jump into another car, kind of hijack it on the move. But the racing sections were so fucking fun, but the rest of the game was gash. So if you could somehow remove the rest of the game or somehow ignore it, that'd be fantastic. But half of that game was absolutely brilliant. It's just a shame that the rest is a bit shit. Ridge Racer Unbounded. Obviously, we mentioned Ridge Racer earlier. It's one of those games.
Is that the
Bugbear one?
Right. Yeah.
The Bugbear one. I've mentioned it on the podcast before that when I started playing it, I didn't enjoy it. And you've got to kind of get into the flow of going through smashing through buildings and smashing cars and timing it with your boosts. Yeah. And when you do get into that flow, it really does, for lack of a better term, get you in the zone when you're playing the game. And I end up thoroughly enjoying it. But it's a bit of a... You've got to stick with it first, because the early hours are a little bit kind of pain in the ass. Lost Odyssey. Do we need to go into the details of that again?
I think... I mean, it undersold perhaps, but I think most JRPG fans appreciate what it was.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but I underrated in so much that you feel like it should have reached. I personally think
it should have warranted a sequel.
Well, it should have reached a larger audience.
Yeah.
Obviously, it didn't kind of get the attention that your Final Fantasies do, but I think it's in the same kind of league. I mean, it's made by the guy who created Final Fantasy, Sakaguchi. And when I look back over the generation, I mean, I haven't played Ni no Kuni yet, but I still think Lost Odyssey is my favourite JRPG of the generation. So I think that could have done with a bit more love, and I certainly would have appreciated a sequel because I would have played the shit out of that. Yeah. And in time, they could have gone crazy with the sequel because he's immortal.
A prequel, sequel, anything.
Fill your fucking boots. What else have I got here? The Club, one of Bazaar's last game.
Love that game. Arcade element, I think, that you're enjoying.
Yeah. You get games like Bulletstorm and what was the other one? People Can Fly did.
I loved Bulletstorm.
Bulletstorm, and there was another one by the guys who... There was another one very similar to that, where basically they're first-person shooters, and they have these point systems kind of tacked on.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the other one might be.
Body Count. Thank fuck.
Never played Body
Count. I really enjoyed Body Count, but both those games feel like first-person shooters with point systems tacked on. This game, however, feels, unsurprisingly, for a game made by Bizarre Creatures...
I think Bulletstorm nailed it.
Oh, no. I mean, that wasn't for me, but this doesn't feel like a third-person shooter in the traditional sense. It's built more like a racer, but the people racing happen to be on foot with guns. It's just the structure. Like, I'm not criticising Body Count or Bulletstorm. It's just, it's such a unique game because you approach it almost like a racer. Like you're always, because it's all to do with speed and memory. Like you're trying to cut corners in the right way. You're kind of preparing your shot before you even go around the corner. Rather than being flashy, it's all to do with speed and skill. In that respect, it feels like a racer. It has a unique status. It's not so successful in the world, but it just seems to solve the game. There's just nothing quite else like that Club out there. Again, another one of those Sega published games which maybe didn't do as well as it could have. But it's a shame because Bizarre obviously are no longer with us, and it was the moment they went to Activision and started making fucking Bond games and stuff. It's like, how as much as I'm looking forward to Forza 5, fuck me, man, how much would I have loved a launch title to have been Project Gotham Racing 5? I mean, Project Gotham Racing 3 on the 360 was easily the most impressive launch title. So, a bit of a shame. What can you do? You won't agree with this, but I've got Bionic Commando on the list, the Grin version. So we're going to skip over that. We mentioned that. Funny enough, speaking of the launch titles, I've got Killzone 2 and 3. Because I still feel like Killzone, I haven't played the latest one. I'm sometimes surprised that it's not a tier 1 shooter, that it hasn't quite caught on, because I always think they're really well made games. And in terms of the immediacy of battle, I don't think any other first-person shooter captures it as well as Killzone. Like, shooting feels brutal. You feel like you're in a war zone.
It's the weight, like, you don't float around the map.
Mm-hmm. It has that unique feel, but for one reason or another, it doesn't seem to catch on with as wide an audience as the kind of more, reaction-based games of Call of Duty and the such. Yeah. So, Killzone's done fine for itself, but I've always been a little bit surprised that it hasn't caught on in the same way, because I think they're really... I mean, the first one wasn't great, but Killzone 2...
It suffers from the install base and the fact that they've clearly put much more time into their campaign.
Yeah, well, I think the multiplayer is solid, but again, the campaign's really good. But the thing is, Sony, obviously they're trying to get that big first-party... first-person shooter, and they haven't quite got it in Killzone. And that brings me, funny enough, to another one on the list, Resistance 3, because they obviously tried it with Resistance.
Yeah.
And the first one sold relatively well on the basis that it was a launch title. The second one had this bizarre, like, kitchen sink approach to video game. There was so much going on in that game, and it was all about spectacle. Yeah. And I really didn't fucking like Resistance 2.
It's a franchise that I never... I got my PS3 and I was never like, I'll pick up Resistance. I was never that.
Never. Well, I think a lot of people were put off by Resistance 2 because it promised so much, but it never felt in anywhere near the same league as your kind of Halos and your Call of Duties and the such.
Yeah.
And it was a shame because I think a lot of people were put off by 2, and then subsequently, as you can tell by the sales, didn't bother, and partly I don't think Sony backed it in the same way.
Yeah.
Resistance 3 came out, and I myself was put off by the first 2, and I didn't bother with 3 for like a good year, until a good year after its release. Resistance 3 is fucking awesome. I think it's arguably, especially in terms of campaign, is the best first-party Sony first-person shooter ever created. I think it's better than the Killzone games as well. I love Resistance 3. And it just hasn't... I think people were put off.
Was it a British team that made it?
It was Insomniac.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think Resistance 3 is hugely underrated. And I think, if you're looking at games to kind of, finish off before the end of the generation, that's certainly worth a look. The last on my list...
Okay. I've
got Splinter Cell Conviction. We mentioned this before as well, about the fact that a lot of people weren't happy that it moved away from kind of traditional stealth.
I'd say
but I thought they got the balance so right in that game, more than arguably any other stealth game.
Yeah.
Because, you could still be stealthy, but you could be so much more aggressive. Like, if you set it up, you could kind of take out the room. And equally, if you got found, you weren't a complete punk-ass bitch. Yeah. You could actually fight back. And I just thought they got the balance so bang on in that game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I can totally see why some people didn't. Like, people who thought that it was a betrayal of the franchise. Yeah. The same thing happened with Hitman this year as well. Mm-hmm. But I thoroughly enjoyed both the new Hitman and the new Splinter Cell. Yeah,
I haven't played... I've never been a Hitman guy. I've hardly played any of them, but...
I suppose you were a bit late to the PSN party. I've got it, but...
Yeah, I would have given it a go. But saying that, I saw it at CX for like £4. So I really should give it at least a go. Can't harm for £4. Yeah. I'll just miss a pint somewhere. But that's pretty much all I've got for my list. I mean, obviously we go into more details, but we've already run over now. Do you have any that you would like to...
Condemned is one that I think...
Yeah.
I mean, it was a launch title, but as far as kind of horror game, good story, really fun gameplay.
Yeah.
It was a first-person shooter, but without... Like, if you pick up a gun, it's almost useless unless you get your head shot.
Yeah, it's one of those few...
moves so fast. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
One of those rare cases of like a melee first person kind of worked very well together. Yeah. The only other game I think that came close to that was like Riddick. Did it really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a game which was ruined when they threw too many guns into the mix as well.
Yeah. Dark Athena was nowhere near as good. No
way. And that was the same with Condemned, wasn't it? Like the sequel kind of almost killed the franchise, didn't it? It lost.
It did. There was nothing after that.
Yeah. It just didn't have that same like. I don't know, the character in the second one was very aggressive.
Well, you're meant to have gone mad, like the whole city's gone mad.
Yeah, I preferred personally, like you say, the first one where it was more like a kind of murder mystery kind of thing and you were just a cop. But the second one, I didn't like the tone so much, and I think that was what a lot of people were put off by.
I still played it and finished it, but it wasn't as good.
No. But that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously, if you have any games you think we've missed out, let us know and all that show. But I don't think I've got anything else to add this week. Obviously, we can talk about the Xbox One launch next week, and I'm not sure if we'll be able to compare figures by then, but obviously, it's not important, but it's what everyone's interested in. And for the fact that I'll sit here and say all day, it's like, it doesn't matter. I am genuinely interested to see how the two consoles kind of fare.
I know Amazon UK have stated that if you pre-order your console now, they can't guarantee it for Christmas. I mean...
Is that just PS4?
Yeah, but I imagine that it's probably going to be the same for Xbox One.
I wonder if sales, because obviously a lot of people who will be pre-ordering the consoles are the kind of people who will have been up to date on the build-up and the fact that PlayStation was saying all the right things. It's going to be interesting a few months after Christmas when it's your kind of average Joe start picking up. Well, because do Sony have the games in the pipeline to kind of keep the momentum going? Because that's what they need. They got so much great momentum going into this launch. Yeah. You just think they need a kind of killer app. I know they've just mentioned Uncharted, but that's a long way off.
Yeah, I mean it's cheaper. 95% of the games are going to be the same for both. So.
Yeah, I'm just thinking at the moment with Xbox One having a stronger launch and obviously neither console really having huge amounts to say, what you're going to be playing all next year, but they do have Titanfall, which can't be underestimated. It's like that's going to be the one where just as everyone's like, I've played my Christmas games, you get to March, Titanfall comes out, that's obviously going to be massive, and Sony's going to need to react to that. Because they don't want, going into, whatever happens at Christmas, because I think both consoles will sell well going to Christmas, of Xbox One getting all the attention until kind of summer, until the next big games. But we shall see. But, we'll discuss all this and so much more next week. But if you've got nothing else to add?
Just follow us on Facebook.
Oh, thank God you're here. I always forget this.
Or facebook.com/Brashcast, or we're at Brashcast
on Twitter. Check out the site, I suppose. brashgames.co.uk.
We are also at Brash Games Podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, and we're on iTunes.
Yes.
So, download on iTunes, subscribe, leave nice comments, don't be dicks. But, we'll be here next week. We're looking at consistency from now on, every Saturday until the end of time. So, even if you don't like us, we're going to be here anyway. So, until then, GTFL.
Bye.